anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones.
All right. Good day, good day, good day to everyone. This is the Talk Beat Jones, and I am Billy E. Jones, and I want to let you know that today is a great day. Why? Because we are live. You're watching what's going on around the world, and hello, Mrs. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is soon to be, well, she is now your nomination, in the nomination for to become the world's strongest person, that is the President of the United States of America. So let's get our thoughts together, get our words together, get our feelings together, get our love together on the Talk Beat Jones. Remember the Talk Beat Jones, we're on the air live every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And of course, we have a repeat broadcast on a Sunday that is on 15.2. That's 15.2 at 4 o'clock on a Sunday. And of course, you can go to the YouTube TV33 on demand. And of course, you can pick that up 24 hours a day, 365. That is that YouTube TV33 on demand. And remember, family, if there are other programs and shows that you've liked over the years that you want to review or tell it to your friends, they can go and see any and all the programs that have been associated, a part of the production of the TV33, WHPR, WHPS. And of course, when you get ready sometime, we're going to talk to you about how to go to the R.J. Watkins page where you can watch and follow the shows and review the shows 24 hours. And that is on the R.J. Watkins page. Once again, you're watching whom? I am that guy. I am Billy E. Jones, and this is the Talk Beat Jones. And I love you, appreciate you, and we're going to take some time today. I asked the studio, I said, today I want to concentrate. I want to reconnect with my family. I want to reconnect with my audience. I want to reconnect with all the fans and friends from around the world that I have been dealing with, having co-hosts. I've been having callers calling in, etc. So you've had an opportunity to hear what other folks are thinking and what's on their minds, etc. Today, family, let me flow. Let me flow. And one of the things that I want to flow about is the elections that's coming up. I want to understand that we are at a great time. We had a great time, a change in the world. Why do I say a change in the world? Well, what affects the United States of America affects the world, because the person that is at the top in America has the most power. Family, we are about to have that handoff. We're about to have the handoff of that love. We're about to have that handoff of the speed of saying, I love you, I love my country. We feel that our country can make that move forward. We've been making the progression. We can continue to make that progression. When people say, let's make America great again, we know what that signal is about. But you see, the idea that one group of folk who is soon to become the minority can set themselves up to be the controlling factor in this country until everyone else step back. Remember how one group of folk controlled everything that went on in America. One group of folk had every position of power and prestige in America. That is saying, that is going backwards to saying, let's make America great. Key word. Whom were the players? Whom were the people that was placed in power? How did the decisions How were they arrived at? Who was making those decisions? Who was stamping what we could do, what you could do, what your children can do in America? Who controlled that? And the code word, as we go around and we continue to listen to the political ranks, and these are people that are trusted with power. These are people that was trusted by people saying, you're going to do what's right for us as the people, as your constituents. And those persons are saying, thank you. Now we're going to take this and we're going to do it the way that we want to do, not how the people care to do. We know that if we put things out, there's a certain folk and a certain mentality that will say, yeah, go ahead, Big Daddy. Make it work for us. We can't think for ourselves. We were willing to follow you no matter what it is that you say because we know that you know what you're doing. We got blinders on. We don't care to have to think about what you're saying. Tell us how you went to the moon. Tell us how you landed on the moon. Tell us how you walked on the moon. And guess what? Big Daddy, we trust you. We don't even want to spot check you. That is, fact check you. We don't care what you say because you are the person that's we feel is going to take us back to making America great. What does that mean again, family? Well, let's go to another code word. Another code word is this: civil disobedience. Excuse me, not civil disobedience. That's a different term. We're talking about the Cold Civil War. And think about that. When we talk about folks who are in power, people who are working towards getting power, and they're putting out the fact that if they don't get their way, they're saying must be time for a civil war. Now, it is, to me, I'm stumped when I hear the people of power, including the man that is running for president, to be the president again. It's like a throwaway, but it's a signal, it's a dog whistle, that if we can't get it our way, prepare to fight. When the man says, fight, 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 what does that mean? What is that meaning? What is the message? The Civil War, for folks who don't remember and for folks who are new to the country or don't quite understand part of America's history, the Civil War was between the North and the South. Folks who were wanting to stay in power and keep the slaves empowered, and those persons who felt that it was time for people to be treated as people. So we had the North and the South, white folks, fighting for power, those that wanted to keep things as it is, as it was, and those that was working to make a change so that all people had an opportunity to grow and become somewhat equal. Let us look at the word equal. Is 3/5 the same as a whole? Think about this, folks. Is 3/5 the same as a whole? It's something we don't discuss, something that is not put out there, but it's 3/5 a whole. And yet they say everyone should be treated equal. But by constitutional law, there are some folk that are only considered 3/5 of a man. And it's not a problem. No one challenges it. So when we talk about a civil war, we're talking about to implement the idea that we want to make sure everyone, except a certain group of folk, are considered 3/5 of a person when we're speaking of make America great again. Look at our history. Look at the history in which people said this was America being great. Who was in control? Who were the people that had the power? what group of people had the power and have the power, even under the president, when President Obama was the president of America and considered the most powerful man in the world. When Obama opened the doors and walked in to see the folks that he had to deal with, and he may have 30, 40 folk in that room that he had to deal with and had to have them to think and work with the ideas that he had or the ideas that was put in place for him to say, work on passing this. All you have to do is get your folk to pass this. And he's looking out, and he's looking at 30, 40 folk that he has to work with. And he may only have 2 or 3 folk that look like him. But he has to appease and still be, quote, a power broker. But he has to appease those other folk to get them to come along and be a part of what he is doing, what he is putting out. So, wondering if you ever had a situation in which you put your hands behind your back and put a smile on your face and had someone that wanted to slap you, but you have to appease them so that they won't slap you, but you can't put your hands up to block it. The only thing that you can do is find a way to appease them, to get them to go along and act as though you are in control. So when we speak on Make America Great Again, is that the America that you are looking at, my fellow Americans? Is that America that you immigrated to this country to be a part of, my fellow new Americans? Is that the America that you have risked your lives and the lives of your children to cross the borders, to come to this country, to become an American, to work towards getting your citizenship? And people say, no, folk at some point do work towards getting their citizenship. So we have this great thing called diversity. Diversity is what is going on. So is it greater to have all of the pot where we said America is the greatest melting pot? Well, we got more ingredients in that pot. We have more folk from various countries, various thoughts that are coming to this country. Can you stop it? No. No, you can't stop it. Can you slow it? Potentially. But can you stop it? No. Folks are here. Folks are going to be continuing to come here. And the population of other groups, other folks, is going to continue to grow. So is that something that folks who, quote, are in power are looking to see how their situations may be somewhat diluted because they don't and won't have the numbers? So is it a process where you say, well, I don't want the people to have the power. And if us can get in power, we can pass the rules, we can pass the laws that we know is more of a dictator style. So we don't have to have the numbers. We don't have to have the vast numbers of people. All we have to do is have ourselves in place and have it down on the paper or in laws and have the Supreme Court to stamp it. If I have the control of the Supreme Court and we are watching and we are seeing that the tenor of the Supreme Court and the folks who are serving on the Supreme Court serve now with more of an arrogant attitude about who and what they are about, or they're concerned about what you feel and think about their decisions the way it used to be? Or is this a part of making America great in which you have folk sitting on the Supreme Court that do not have to worry about what you say, what anyone says? They are totally above the law, totally above the law. And as you're seeing, the type of things that they're willing to do, the type of gifts that they're willing to accept, knowing that this makes it a process whereby there's favors that are expected and will be granted. And in the past, you looked at your Supreme Court folks and knowing that they had the type of integrity to refuse these offerings. Now, it seems that our Supreme Court folk are willing to say, give me this, give me that, give me as much as you can give me, and I'll wink my eye, and we'll be ready when you need us. So is it a process that the Supreme Court says, well, the man that put us here, we can set things up so that he too can have this type of power? And in the end, if his situations or his decisions are being challenged, us who don't have to worry about what the people think about our decisions, we of course can back the president. Is that making America great again? Depends on the group of folk that you're speaking to and speaking of. But we do know in our thinking, and remember, family, I said I'm not taking the calls. I'm not having the person sitting here with me. I'm saying that, like I say to you, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has their own thought. And when you're doing that, it means that your thought, your opinion, is the greatest opinion, the greatest thought in the world. Because you claim it. It is yours. So as I sit here, do I say that the things and the thoughts that I have to bring to you today are technically correct, emotionally correct, in your mind correct? That's not what I'm saying. We're saying that I'm here talking with you. And in your mind, in your head, your thinking, hopefully it'll tickle you and you'll have thoughts. But you're being in a situation where I'm sharing my thoughts and how I'm thinking through the process of a person, not a person that's just on television or TV or in the streaming and devices and etc. But I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking from concern for the country the way that you are. And so I say to you, give me the room to think and express my thoughts. They may be different from yours, but that's okay. That's why I say everyone has the entitlement of their own thought, their own thinking. So today, once again, I wanted to let you know that this is Billy E. Jones, and this is the Talk Beat Jones. And, you know, we've been doing the Talk Beat Jones and this television programming from Detroit since about 2007 to now. And, of course, I have the history of being the person that was on air, Soul Beat Television, from the 80s to 2000. Yes. And this is what I do. And I'm always in a position whereby I grant you your thoughts and respect your thoughts. We can have a conversation, but you always have the ability to express yourself and let others who are listening be able to either accept it or say, I didn't think of it that way. That sounds different. But now, as we are still going through the process of talking about retracting and going back to what I spoke of earlier, Civil War, as I'm listening to the other folk who are in power or who want power, they are consistently stating all of their plans, etc., and here's what you are looking to have happen. And it's the great plan, and they're saying this is a great plan, and here's the thought, and here's what we're going to do. However, if it doesn't go through, if this group of folks who's opposing it, if they win, then we have to be in a position. This is, and when I say this, we're speaking of the folks who, the other folk, are saying, we may have to have a civil war to make this country great again. Now, what type of conversation from people who are elected folks, people who got power, people who got money, who says that if we don't get our way, we're going to have a civil war? My question is, the Civil War was almost an issue of black and white. Can the folk tell us, as we are speaking to the America today, with all of the diversity, with all of the different groups that have come to this country, all the different immigrants who came to America and their children who are here in America, who are American citizens, are you going to tell us, other folk, that you can rally all of these other folks to be willing to get into a war in this country against each other? Because remember, it's no longer a process where it's a black and white country issue. It's not that anymore. So where is this situation when the rhetoric comes to a civil war? For folks who don't understand what the word is talking about right there, we're talking about a civil war within the country, folks fighting within the country. Who's going to choose which side they're going to be on? Who's going to choose which side are they going to be on in terms of a civil war? Let us reflect upon all of the interracial marriages. Let us reflect upon all of the interracial relationships. Let us reflect upon all of the interracial bi children. When I say bi, I mean biracial children. Who are they going to choose to fight? Who are they going to choose to fight? When we're speaking of a civil war, folk that is talking this talk, cracking your nuts, because it's kind of nutty thinking, how are you going to pick who's going to be on your side to fight? Are you speaking to folks who have mental issues, who have a situation, who are sitting on the idea of, can I fight if my man don't win? Can I fight if the situation don't go through? Am I going to be willing to do it and drop everything that I got in my life that I put together because the signal says we're going to war? War with who? War with who? Or are you just using words to intimidate? Are you looking to use these words to intimidate? But I want to give you a tippy. Those words no longer have the reflection of fear the way you're thinking, because you're not going to bully. You're not going to bully the folks of America with that conversation. So that is something that you can put on the outside of your door and say, let's brush that one away. That doesn't work. The legality is to get out and put your issues and let the people hear and let the people decide. Now, the people now, it's not just black folks. It's not just white folks. It's not just Mexican folk. Huh? What are you going to do? How are you going to bring all of these other folks? Now you have all these other sexual oriented groups. So are you going to have a civil war between the sexes? Because this man loves this man or this woman loves that woman? So what are you going to do with that? How are you going to create this civil war? And I'm saying this, family, who are hearing these folks who are saying that if we don't win the election, then we're looking to have a civil war because we're going to fight, fight, fight. We're going to fight, fight, fight. And when we're speaking of them talking about, let's lower the ratchet of that type of conversation, folk, from what I'm listening to and what I'm hearing, and again, this is Billy Jones's thought, what my ears and my mind is hearing. You're talking about fight, fight, fight. Do we go back to January the 6th? And, you know, when we're talking about the person that was killed when the shot was aimed, quote, for Donald Trump, what about the officers that was assaulted? What about the officers that was beaten? What about the officers that was humiliated? What about the officers who had the prestige of serving the country in Washington, wearing the badge, being respected, having the type of position that you love because you're right there serving the protection of your government officials? Did they get beat? Did they get stomped? Did they get, oh, excuse me, did someone die? Did someone die? Folks who were waking up before January the 6th, who was going to work happy? Why are those officers deciding to retire or get away from that line of business? Why did they have to leave? Why are they emotionally now totally screwed up? And yet, it is put out as though it was just some folks expressing themselves. They're okay. And then you want to go back and throw the thought about having a civil war and not understanding that we're still suffering from those officers that was beaten, humiliated, and have died from the stress, and the ones who died from the ramifications of the beatings that they went through. Huh? Was that like the mini civil war that the folks are saying, fight, fight, fight? And let us understand, when your children are coming home and they're talking about, I want to fight, I want to beat his butt, I want to do, and my sister over there, I'm going to kick her, and that's fight. That's fight. You can't, and another one little something, when Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised the fist up at the Olympics for unity, what did those people in power do to them for raising the fist? Their lives were set out to be ruined. And later on, what becomes a symbol of power and prestige? Everybody does the fist. But the black folks who put that fist up for the world to see at the Olympics, they were ostracized. They were humiliated. They were downgraded to almost nothing, received none of the glory for what they gave to the country on that track. So when we hear these folks talking about, let's fight, 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 well, you fight to take something that does not belong to you. That's what you're trying to do. And you're trying to get a group of people around the world, around the United States, to get behind you and say, we got this army of folks. We know you have an army of folks. We know we have paramilitary folks. We know we have groups of folks who don't like people. We know that you got folks who are sitting back, looking, smiling, acting as though they like everybody, but are secretly without that mask on, doing what they are doing, and are willing to do your bidding. We know that. But how are you going to distinguish people that's going to be in a part of your civil war? And again, who am I going to fight? Who am I going to fight? I have wonderful, great friends of all different nationalities and all types of different people who have different sexual orientations. Who am I going to fight? And what am I going to fight for? They said that you got a political system to take care of that, so you put it out, and the best, used to be the best man or woman will win because the people voted. And now that we have the ability whereby, because you put other folks' name on a ballot, does not no longer mean they're going to win. So because you feel and you don't think that you can do it on the right tip, you want to put your fist up and say, fight, fight, fight. We got to fight to make America great again. We got to fight to put the people that we want in office. It's almost like the little boy who has a bat and we're throwing the ball and he can't hit the ball. So what does he want to do? He wants to take his bat and go home so nobody else can play. So nobody else can play. So is this simple, almost like if we cannot get our way, if we go to the ballot box and the folks reject us in the American system that says the best person that gets the states and the people win, you're saying if that happens and we don't win, I want you to be prepared to cause chaos. Because you see, family, when you say fight for these people, it's not necessarily about taking all the guns or taking your fists and just going out randomly fighting and beating up folks. It's about technically the positions of what they can do to cause disruptions. It's technically what can they cause, what type of issues, what type of problems can they cause in America. Just like we're going through this outage, this power outage that has made all the planes, all of your different type of systems go down. That one company is able to just shut everything down, and there's nothing that nobody can do about it. So the persons that have those type of businesses in controlling America, think about if each one make a mistake. That's what they said these folks did. If each of those different folks who control various entities in America decide to make a mistake, oops, we didn't know that we was planting a bug in the system. Folks, understand this is not the type of fight that you're expecting it to be like back in the day, the North against the South war. This is a different message that they're sending out to the people. We're in this tech age now. And with the ability to shut this country down, and they got folks who are in position to cause those type of interruptions. So do not be fooled when they're talking about fight. It's not the old school fight. It is the new school of fighting that they're speaking of. And when you have the people who have the money and the companies that control what the country needs, believe me, you need to understand folks are wanting to say we can cause America great harm. That is the underlying message, family. I want you to pick up on that. That is the underlying message. It's not about fighting with you and me. It's not that. It is on a much, much higher, more devious nature. One that, can you stop it? Can you stop it? Can you stop because the person is shaking everybody's hand, loving everybody, controlling the company, and doing everything that's right, and he is actually a supporter of someone else who is saying fight, fight, fight? I got this little button right here. If I push this button, everything is going to go black. They may come back, but it's going to cause them a week or two of nothing but chaos. If I got chaos over here, if I got chaos over there, if you cannot communicate, I don't care what position of power that you hold, if you cannot communicate, you have no power. You have no reach. And what this last outage has shown us, that's possible. That's possible. This company was in place and it controlled all the major players. that we needed for transportation and communications, etc. And they dropped the ball, you could say, or they planted the bug, if you want to say. They're saying, oops. Oops. How long and how many thousands of people have suffered? How many companies could not operate? And how many companies had to go back to old school style of trying to do manual business because of oops. Be careful in terms of listening, and listen with your ears wide open and your eyes open. And I say open your ears. Don't just let it, open your ears. Hear the noise. Hear the noise. Don't just sit and listen to the group of folks who can empower you because you're all saying the same particular things. Remember, all countries have what they call spies, S-P-Y-S. And my family friends don't understand that simply means I got a person inside of your camp that's looking at what you're doing and is telling me what you're doing and will allow me to set up opposition and know exactly what your moves are. That spy looks like, sounds like, act like, love like you, but they're committed to the opposition. In America today, these folks that are talking about fight, 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 they understand because they already have embedded spies who are there, been there for years and years and years, because that's what spies do. They embed themselves in the fabric so that they are just like everybody else. Some of them have the power. That's what we're looking for, family. That's what we're looking for. And they say, Billy, what makes you think that you have this understanding that you're talking about? Very simple, my family. During the time of the Joe Biden, Donald Trump last election, when the election results came in and Donald Trump had lost, and everyone was singing the song, Trump's gone, Trump is gone, he's gone, way gone, ain't worried no more about Trump, 'cause Trump is gone. It was a hit song because Trump is gone. Think about it. Everyone was speaking about Trump, and think about when he was running. People, oh, he ain't gonna win. The dummy, he's dumb, and he's this and that, etc. And he won. Huh? Because now Donald Trump understood what he needed to do to continue his plan with his rich, ultra rich folk. They could make a pact to make America great again. Donald Trump can go up on stage at a rally and say to you, oh, my good friend, and point to him, my good friend, this just happened, just gave me a check for $1 million as he's putting it away. Thank you, my friend. That's the way that camp rolls. The money. Now, money and lies will get you a long ways. I don't care what nobody else says. Money and lies will get you a long ways until you meet a prosecutor. Until you meet the prosecutor, because the prosecutor peels back the lies, and it's like they say, the king had no clothes. Now you're in trouble. Now you are in trouble. Does it mean that the Supreme Court is going to save you? That's another situation that will come out. Does it mean that all the different judges that have been appointed, who has friends, who has relatives, who has connections with other judges and other places and other situations, etc.? Because you know, when they say in a court case, the prosecutor and a defense attorney, they seem like they are just like animals ready to fight. And then when the situation is all said and done, what do? Hey, Fred. Hey, Frank. Hey, Cicely. You want to go out? Let's go out and have a steak and drinks. Okay, yeah, all right. Hey, that is the way it works. It's a job. It is an act. But when the act is all over, the friendship comes back. That's what he said. Oh, yeah, I know such and such. I know this person. I know. Oh, yeah, we've hung together. We've talked together. But in the courtroom, we are bitter rivals. That's what they say. Is that a problem? Not really. You go to a boxing match. Back in the day, the winner and the loser used to sometimes shake hands. Some of them would even do a hug. Because I acknowledge that in, quote, a fair fight with the referee, just making sure I don't hit you low, that I don't hit you behind the head, that I don't rabbit punch you. And when it's all said and done, either you knocked me out or I hit you greater than you hit me in a judge's decision, and they say I'm the winner. I acknowledge. But when you hear the folk who are talking about the country and talking about how important it is for us to move forward, we don't move backwards. We move forward. And they're saying, if I lose, everything is off. Everything is off. If I lose, everything is off now. Because we got to fight. Yeah, you did something, had to do something that was crooked. You had to be sitting in a situation where you were, okay. You saw how to do something crooked to win. So we're going to say that was not fair. And because it was not fair, we're going to disrupt it. We're going to want to fight. We're going to cause whatever chaos that we can because it was not fair. Why was it not fair? Because I didn't win. I didn't win. And if I don't win, it couldn't be fair. It couldn't be fair because I lost. And I couldn't lose. Family, is that where you are? Are you understanding? Are you understanding that if I get out with and got a coin and I got to flip a coin and you are pulling and saying, here's a choice between a head and a tail with a coin. We're going to flip it. Heads, you win. Tails, I win. But guess what, family? If I got the coin and got two tails on it, throw it up, who's going to win? Who's going to win? And that seems to be the understanding as we go into this presidential election process, that the one group is saying, if we do not win, we won't accept it. It was not a fair election. Remember January the 6th? What was January the 6th about? It was simple, a process of President Trump, Vice President Pence did not follow President Trump's orders because Vice President Pence, despite him being the Vice President under Trump, still had his allegiance to the righteousness of being a person that represents the United States of America. And for that, his life was threatened by the people that were sent in to say, no, we don't want the transfer of power. We do not want to transfer power from Donald Trump to someone else. It was not fair. And we're going to show you. We will destroy. We will come in. And by the way, where are those senators in Congress? I want them. We want them. Where is it that you can see the people who are representing all these folks in America having to run for their lives and watching the folk who are there to protect them stuck indoors with their head between the doors and them pushing, 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 and the man is screaming in pain and fear. And the folks had the shields taken from them and beaten with them and stomped, maced, wondering, what's happening? We're here to protect, not to be attacked, not to be in this position. We are Americans protecting America, and we got Americans attacking us in force. Think about if you were one of those persons that was online to protect those senators and congresspersons and other folks. And you are being beaten. And some of you have attacks that die. Yeah. Look at the history on that. There were ramifications of death with that January the 6th, but they want to slide that apart. There were folks who got injuries that still to this day cannot recover. Do what they call due diligence, do research, Google it, however you want to do. Find out, am I telling you the truth? Or is it the other folks that says January 6th didn't even happen? It was just some folks coming down to put up a little sign to tell people, hey, we didn't like that. Is that the way that happened? Don't think so. Now, as we're moving forward, and we're going to move forward because lies, L-I-E-S, lies do not carry water. The bucket is empty. The only reason the bucket gets full is because people don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. You want to be carried away with wonderful lies. Why do you think folks who lie are able to con folks, defraud folks? Because you have lied so well, people will believe you. They tell us, if you tell enough lies, it's like throwing mud against the wall. Some of it's going to stick. And if you find that you got a rhythm of folks who eat up your lies and you continue to put them out there, you can build on them, can't you? You can build on them. And that's exactly what other folks are doing. What other folks are doing, just taking that time to build on the lies. How do you beat a con? You stretch it out. How do you understand about a lie? You listen to it, you analyze it, and you question it. You don't just eat it up. You don't be like Pac-Man, just eat it up. And I want to regress for just a moment and give you the look of a man that is looking to talk on policy, talk on issues, talk on the situations that the country is dealing with at that particular time. Hello, President Joe Biden. And let's talk on the other side of that microphone to a person who says, all I got to do is lie. Because the man is expecting us to be talking on issues, and I'm going to surprise him because all I got to do is keep lying, and guess what? He's not expecting me to stay lying, just continue to lie. So what does Joe do? Joe does what you would do, except at his age, it looks different. But how many of you have had somebody talk to you and you just can't believe it, and you do what? Your mouth flies open, and you pause with your mouth open because you can't believe what you're hearing. You can't believe what you hear, and you said, how can I concentrate when all this person doing is telling a lie? So how am I supposed to bring in and talk subject matter when all the person is doing is lying? I am totally aghast at what is going on here. I can't believe at this level that all I'm receiving is a lie. So yes, I would stutter. You would stutter. You would be flabbergasted, and your thinking process would be somewhat off as well. Because what happens when people are talking to you in person? Think about this, family. Think about when a person, you want to have a discussion, and the person that you're talking to, you know everything that's coming out of their mouth is a lie. Now tell me, how many of you can stay on point? Tell me, how many of you can stay on point to a person that's lying to you, and you know they're lying to you? It's just surprising you, don't it? To the point where you just finally get flabbergasted and just can't take it because you can't think. There is no let's talk on business. That's what our President Joe Biden had to deal with, family. So let us get correct, let us get real, and stop listening to all this other stuff about the man just couldn't think and said, he couldn't think. Because what was he supposed to think? One lie after another lie after another lie after another lie after another lie. And we're here having a debate. But you listened to the commentators of folk who was what? Media? Who was already on the fact that he's 80 and can he do it? Anything that he did, anything that he was doing, if it showed any type of slowness, you were ready to jump on the man. But we had a president, for folks who don't know, may have to go back to Google, may have to, some folks who like to use books, check our history books. We had a president that had polio. But did the media let us know he had polio? Did we know he had polio, that he couldn't really walk? No, we didn't. The media and everyone protected him. Everyone protected him. So because Joe Biden had problems with neuropathy, and for folks who don't know what that is, that's a process where you have numbness and lack of continuous feeling in your feet. So you walk very carefully. But did that affect his brain? Does that affect his brain? And when the person that says, oh, Joe Biden, he was the worst president that's ever been president in America. And if I want to eat that up, Pac-Man, I can eat that up. Is it a lie? You know, check it out. What are they saying about the accomplishment of Joe Biden? What is it that Joe Biden has been able to do for this country? I'll give you one. Think about all the folk who have diabetes, and have a very, very strong situation with a diabetic conditioning. And they have to have their insulin. They have to have their insulin. Yet, the folk who was producing insulin had it so high, folks could not afford their life-giving insulin. Who made the change? Who made the change for the American folk so that your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your child could afford the insulin injections at $35? Could you afford almost $1,000 for your insulin? Because big folks was making that type of money on insulin, didn't care if folks lived or died, but they knew that product was so much in demand that they could put that type of price on it. Who was the person who came in and helped save lives? Joe Biden. President Joe Biden. I will not sit here and try to give you all the list of his accomplishments, except when you listen to the folks talk about all the great things that your President Joe Biden has been able to bring to you. When someone else is trying to continue with the lie, Joe Biden, the worst president we ever seen. Oh, when I come back, we're going to talk about that person that somebody calls her that laughing Kamala. That laughing Kamala. You know who they speak on. You know the person that tries to give out the nicknames and the derogatory situation there for folks. You know who that is. And we'll talk about that when we come back after the commercial breaks. Yeah, right about time. We'll be ready. We're on the commercial break. We'll be right back with the Talk Beat Jones. Again, I'm Billy Jones. All right. Mm-hmm.
Go anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones.
Family, Talk Beat Jones. I'm Billy Jones. I want to do this real quickly. I got excited. I didn't watch the clock, and we were just having so much conversation here. I want to say this. Talk Beat Jones. We're on air every Wednesday at 10 a.m. And again, next time, I'll talk to you more about that person, Kamala Harris, the president that's going to be elected. The person that's going to be elected president, hopefully. I'm gone. I'm over time. Love you. Peace. Bye now.
Go anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones.